The sound in the storytelling of Gravity is very important. There's no sound in space. So you're in the vacuum, sound cannot be transmitted to the atmosphere. Nevertheless, sound is transmitted through interaction of elements, meaning that if our characters grab, touch stuff, the vibration of that will travel into their ears, and so they will get a muffled representation of that sound. Gravity is a film that is designed itself for surround system. The sound is constantly traveling. It's very dynamic. It's geographically very literal, meaning if one character is talking behind you, the sound is going to come from behind.
He had a pretty ironclad grip on what he thought the sound should be. He understood the science himself because of the way he designed the movie. He was completely immersed in the suits and the shuttles and what you could do and what you couldn't do and how you would get from here to there if you just had a tether or whatever the science happened to be. All the Foley, everything that they were doing, loosening the bolts and moving things and opening doors and everything, all came into the form of transducer recordings, which records vibrations rather than regular airborne audio. And really the whole layer of sound effects are those recordings. And that gave us this fantastic kind of halfway. We're sort of dabbling in see an event and have a sound to go with it, which is a lot of what we normally do. Then the compromise of hey, there's no air, you have a helmet, you couldn't hear that, how would that happen? So we kind of split the difference there, basically, in terms of the science of it. There was a fair amount of production track. George and Sandra did a fair amount of stuff. They did some stuff in sort of like a rehearsal mode, where they were basically doing read-throughs. And some of that stuff is in the movie. There's a fair amount of stuff which was when they were shooting George and Sandra within these rigs. They were mic'd up, and I think they had mics like this kind of mic. And a fair amount of the movie is from those recordings. And then we also did a fair amount of ADR.
Houston, do you copy? Houston, this is mission special.
And one thing about that track, which was kind of fascinating, this is one of the things that Alfonso and I worked on, was the more futzed the voices became, the more kind of realistic that is, but the less emotion is transmitted to the audience. Some of those sounds are, crucial to conveying the depth of emotion. So we were constantly twiddling the futz, trying to make it less futzed or more futzed based on what was happening on screen.
Something that we did specifically for Gravity is that the music is composed for surround. Here the music comes from different places in the room, and it just travels and moves and clashes with other musics that are coming from other places.
Please copy.
The other really big item was that the voices would pan with the characters. So it was decided that we would pan the voices with the actor. If Sandra's here, her voice came from there. George would be like this, his voice there, and we would track that around. Wherever they went, we would make it follow. That has a fantastic side benefit in that it both focuses you where people are, and a lot of times in the movie stuff's flying around it. It helps you focus where you are geographically. But it also, at the same time, makes you feel more disoriented, more like you're untethered and you're floating around.
Don't detach that arm to carry you too far. Listen to my voice. You need to focus. I'm losing visual of you. In 2 seconds I won't be able to track you. You need to detach. I can't see you anymore. Do it now. Houston, I've lost visual of Dr. Stone. Houston, I've lost visual of Dr. Stone.
We did the original mix in 7.1, and that was very exciting. And then when we redid that mix in Atmos in this stage, we doubled down. We made it even more precise. We followed the actors as closely as we could and really went through great effort to make the voices follow the actors around. Then we also had height so we could make them more elaborate pans, and that was a huge unanticipated joy. We were doing a similar flying around idea with the score as well, and that was really complicated. We sort of basically untethered everybody and unclipped everyone and let everything just kind of float around to its own sort of level.
I think that Dolby Atmos is the sound system I always dream of. It's a system that offers a perfect separation, depth, a full range in every single one of the speakers. The speakers on the ceiling also complement into the experience of the immersive experience of cinema. I would use this system any moment.
You have to brake!
Can's empty. We're gonna hit hard. Grab a hold of anything you can.
There are two basic challenges. One is, as always, being clever and being smart about your choices and focusing your energies on the scenes where you can really do things that would show off the atmos, or the sounds that you have can be better reproduced in some way. And then the other question is when not to do that, when to just, hey, it sounds pretty good. Well, why should we change that? And that's one of the beauties of it, is that it's a really open platform. So you can really do wild things, and you can spend a lot of time, and you can pretty much repan everything if you wanted to. We essentially did that on Gravity. The dialogue was already 90% there, because the dialogue being all mono, essentially we made all the dialogue into objects. And then the pans were already there to the 7.1 platform, and it was just up to us to push them out here and there as the situation required. Everything that you learn helps you appreciate what a rare and fantastic collaboration that is. And particularly in a movie like this, where Alfonso is really reaching for greatness and achieving it left and right, you have the responsibility to help him achieve the soundtrack as well. And this movie for me was not taking your role for granted, that everything that we worked on day in and day out during the mix, there always seemed to be another level that we could achieve.
I mean, what inspires me is the cinematic experience. A cinematic experience that is a language in itself, and as a language that you use tools. And sound is one of these tools. When you have the possibility of having sound coming out from every single different place, replicates the experience of just being alive. Just to be there in the moment, in the cinematic moment that you're presenting on the screen.